Hello and welcome to the West London Sport QPR podcast. I'm Dan Bennett. I'm joined as ever by Ian McCullough and Kevin Gallen. He's back from his extended international break in Italy. You glad to be back, Kev?
Delighted, Dan. Just to see you. Just so happy.
Slap bang down to earth last night.
Yeah, but it was my first game for a while, so I know the result wasn't what we wanted, but I enjoyed being at a football match.
Yeah, nice to be back. Just a reminder that we are on streaming platforms now as well. So if you're watching us, or you got to pop out, or you got to be on the move, or whatever, you can listen to us if you'd prefer. Wherever you listen to your podcast, we're also available. But like I said, we're recording this on Wednesday, the day after QPR's 1-0 defeat to Blackpool. Kev, like I said, you were there. How did you assess the game? What were your kind of thoughts on it? Like I said, first game you've been to for a while, and obviously we haven't spoken to you in a while. So how have you kind of rated the start to the season from QPR? I mean, been some good bits and some bad bits as ever with QPR.
Yeah, the usual. Start to season was it? I mean, 4 points out of 4. Yeah, well, not great, not rubbish, but not great. Just sort of, I suppose, a little bit. I'd have to say below average points wise. I watched the game against Middlesbrough. I thought for 35, 40 minutes we were very good. I'm probably going over old ground, but then for the 50 minutes, they could have snatched a draw in the end. And I didn't see the game at Sunderland, but I'm sure I've heard people talk about it, saying that we weren't great, but then showed really good fighting spirit. Scored 2 goals in the last 5 minutes, so that when you do that, that feels like a win. And last night, I thought there's some good bits and obviously some bad bits. But regarding last night, I mean, we had the chances to maybe at least 1 goal up before Blackpool scored, and maybe 2, and some really good chances there. Didn't take them. Blackpool just before half-time score a really good goal. It's always a bit of a killer blow, when you're just like a minute before half-time and you go in, you think you're going in at 0-0 and it's all to play. It's always all to play for at half-time, but it's a little bit of a sucker punch to go in just a minute before half-time, and then you got to regroup, and then the manager has to maybe make changes quicker or whatever. So his team talk or whatever he thinks he's going to say to the team, it sort of goes out the window, and he's got to prepare another sort of speech within a minute. So some good performances and some poor performances really as well. If I've been thinking back about it, yeah.
What have you noticed from Beale? Have you noticed anything kind of different that you like or maybe don't like? Like what have you made of the kind of changes? Obviously the system going back to a 4 is quite a big change, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a big change. That's pretty much the biggest change is playing a 4 at the back. I'm not too keen with Stefan Johansson playing sort of the holding midfield and Field to the left a little bit advanced. I don't see that. We saw Field last year play in front of the back 4 in that holding midfield role, screening the defenders, and I thought he was very good at it, excellent at it, and he had a really good season doing it. And for him to sort of play on that left, I don't think it suits him. I don't think he's got the legs. And the midfield 3 really last night had no sort of, good players on the ball, but no real energy and legs to get up and down the pitch.
I thought they lost the midfield battle overall, I would have said.
That's what I'm saying, because of that, because of, having those 3, Dazelle, Johansson and Field, they're not the quickest, the most mobile. And I'll go back to what I just said. I still feel Field has to play the holder and have 2 in front of him, because that's the style of play Mick Beale wants to do at one sort of. I know he wants. I've heard people say this quarterback role where he wants that one on the pivot, spraying passes, and all well and good. But I think Field's a pretty good passer. But I think he gives you more defensively. I think he screens better for the centre halves, and we're now playing with a back 4, so 2 centre halves. He was screening last year 3 centre halves. So we're now not really screening 2 centre halves.
Yeah.
Other than that was his. I don't think there's much difference, but if I was gonna, if I would change one thing, I would have Field as as the holding defensive midfield player. And then,
yeah, that was his justification for that was like he wants Johansson facing forward, with the ball at his feet, whereas he felt if he played a bit further forward, he's obviously sometimes receiving it with his back to the goal and he can't. So I do get that, but it's funny, your old teammate we had on, Mark Bircham, said a similar thing to you a couple of weeks back, where he said he was a little bit worried about, especially off the ball with Johansson, because that maybe doesn't have the legs to kind of play that sort of deepest role. And like I said to you as well before, I think that I was pretty surprised when Field got moved because I thought he was excellent in that role as well. But I think he wants to make him into more of like a box-to-box player and contribute going forward.
It's difficult to make someone a box-to-box player when they ain't really. They ain't gonna. I don't think it's going to happen. I might be wrong. Time will tell.
He's a very good player, Field. I mean, hopefully he can do it. But like you say, it's what are you giving up to do that?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I think you're giving up Field's better position as a holder. So you're taking away that quality that he's got, and Stefan Johansson is very good on the ball passing, but defensively he's not a defensive-minded player, and Dazell's not really a defensive-minded player or a box-to-box player. So you need some legs in there, and I think we missed Amos because the first half against Middlesbrough was very good, getting about, closing down, and other than that, I don't think there's really much. Same sort of style of football, passing it. But everyone does that now. I mean, Blackpool last night were taking big risks rolling the ball.
Too many.
That's what I think. Twice they got caught, and twice we should have punishment, and we didn't. But everyone's sort of playing that style of football, so it's whoever's got the better players usually comes out on top.
Yeah, like you said, I suppose something Beale can't do a lot about is Amos and also Taylor Richards give you that legs in midfield, and neither are available because they're both injured. So I think, you'd have to say if one of those was fit, they probably would have started. But Ian, like Kev said, not the best start for QPR, not really the start Mick Beale would have been hoping for. You were at Sunderland on Saturday as well. I gather it wasn't the best performance, even though, like Kev said, fought back well and showed a lot of character. But what have you made of it overall? Is there cause for concern, do you think, or is there kind of other factors, like I said, the injuries obviously playing a part that maybe make it not as concerning as it should be? And has there been enough positives to kind of override that, I guess?
Yes, there's been enough positives. I think it's way too early to be concerned. I think in many ways he's doing the job with sort of one hand tied behind his back at the minute with key players that you need to play the system he wants to play. Willock, Amos, Richards.
Yeah. I agree,
etc. Not available. I thought. I mean, the game at Sunderland, given the personnel they had on the field and where they're playing, it's a side that's full of confidence. I thought it was a really good point. First half, they were not good at all. Bill said afterwards, we're so deep, and it's almost like because it's a confidence thing. I think because they've lost. That's such a bad end to last season. It's almost like forgotten how to win in some ways. So it's that natural thing of when you just retreat, didn't you? Back, you sit deep, and it's just a long ball over the top, really, and they couldn't deal with it, and through the middle, and the game changed at Sunderland really when Tyler Roberts came on. He was outstanding. He was really good. He's getting the ball, running at players, and I think when I'll come on to the Blackpool game in a minute, but when you've got Roberts fit, Willock fit, Amos fit, Richards fit, Ethan Laird in the side, you've got the makings of a pretty decent side there. And sort of half of those players aren't available at the moment, but they will be. And, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. I mean, last night, he wasn't great. The game really should have been out of sight after 20 minutes. They should have been 3-0 up. Missed three very presentable chances. And it is a very, very good goal from Bowler, to be fair. But again, that's Ilias Chair losing the ball deep up the field. The ball's just come through the middle, and you've got to clear that. I mean, I've got to be honest, I haven't seen it back again, but it looked to me on first watching it live from the upper loft that Jimmy Dunn, again, he has his habit of not clearing the ball. You just put your foot through it, get rid of it. They had a chance to clear it and didn't. And Bowler's a decent player, good technique, and he put it in the bottom corner. It was a great strike, but it was a preventable goal, poor goal.
And there's a lot of people around him as well, weren't there? Before he, got the shot blocked. There's enough people there that he should be blocking that again. Really,
going in, and he shouldn't be scoring from where he did. I do wonder as well whether, I like Jimmy Dunn. I think he's a really good, solid centre back, and it's been a great signing for Rangers. But I don't know if he's comfortable in a 4 on the left of a 4. And I do wonder now they've got Laird in as the right wing back, he might consider going to a back 3. Maybe you bring Masterson in just till Clark-Salter's fit. But I mean, you've got that problem again, like who plays on the left of that 3, because Clark-Salter is a left-sided defender. He's injured. But I do wonder if that just putting another centre back in there may change it up a little bit and maybe give a bit more stability in sort of maybe the middle of the park. But I mean, I think I'm in the minority of kind of one, really. I didn't think Dazelle played that bad last night. I thought he was good against Sunderland. But I thought he got around the pitch better than he has done last season. And I think he was, making passes that actually, he wasn't just a little 5-yard pretty passes anymore in it. He was, doing it better than he did last season. And I've been quite critical of him, but I mean, I'll give him credit where it's due. I thought he did okay at Charlton as well. So, but Johansson, I understand where Bill's coming from. He's explained it quite sort of clearly why he wants Johansson in that role. But yeah, I do wonder or not if that makes them a little bit soft in the middle. And if he wants to keep doing that, maybe then that'd be another reason to go back to a back 3. But I thought Ethan Laird looked good, actually. It's very difficult to come in such short notice. You're making your debut with players you don't know, but he offered a little bit of life on the right, which, Osman Kakai, fair play to him. He's been solid, but he can't do that. He's not anywhere near a threat going forward like Laird was last night. But Powell, I'll give him the benefit that he's still adjusting to the English game, but he wasn't great last night. Took a nasty headbang early in the first half. Don't know if that affected him, but I haven't really seen this great crossing ability he's supposed to bring to the side. There hasn't been much of that to see in the 3 games he has played. So
he's not really got forward that much, has he? It's strange. I was expecting him to kind of bomb on, but it's more the other side that's been doing that, which is unusual.
I mean, it's really early days, and like I was saying to my kids last night actually that it's one game. This time last year, Rangers had been promoted. Rob Dickie was a new Franz Beckenbauer, and life was good. It's 4 games into the season, and it's Forest are bottom in October, and Luton and Huddersfield were nowhere, and both got in the playoffs. So I'll say it again: you just got to hang in there. If you can be sort of top 8, top 10, be in with a shout. And it was one of those games last night where you lose 1-0 to a team that's not a bad side. They were organised. They were hard to break down, and just one of those nights. The ball didn't go in. Good chances were missed, but you got a chance to rectify that on Saturday against a Rotherham side. It won't be easy. There won't be an easy beat either, but you fancy Rangers should get something out of Rotherham at home, particularly with Chris Willock now available.
You're rehearsing for the podcast with your kids, where you're giving them some practice takes, see what the feedback was, whether to put that one out there or not. I agree with what you said about like Amos, Richards, and Willock. Like if you put, I don't know if Amos and Richards will both play, but if you put one of those in and you put Willock in, especially, that is a completely different team. And the Willock is just when he goes into the QPR team, it's just like I said, a completely different side. Like they really miss him when he's not playing. And I'm not sure what the stats are exactly, but I saw someone on Twitter that saying like he's QPR's record with him in the team and without him in the team, and unsurprisingly, they're a lot better with him. And I just think he makes so much difference. He did say, obviously, last week what he said about changing formation, that is something that he wants to do eventually. But I personally don't think we'll see it until Clark-Salter comes back, maybe later on in the season. But it's definitely something to think about, especially now he's got, like you said, Ethan Laird in, who looks really good going forward and created a lot of chances last night and probably should have had an assist, to be honest, and probably would have done on another day. But yeah, Kevin will come on to this now. Like I said, Laird was good going forward last night, created a lot of chances, and ultimately they weren't taken. And you have to look at Lyndon Dykes and say he's probably the main culprit for not taking those chances, particularly with one where Stephanie Hansen nicked the ball high up, gave it to Dykes in the box, and he kind of looked like he got caught in 2 minds, didn't know what to do, maybe thought he was offside, and just rushed a shot that was saved quite easily in the end. And like that, really, that's got to be ending in a goal, hasn't it? If you want to win championship games, there's no real way that shouldn't be ending in a goal. I mean, what have you made of Dykes so far? There's been some good moments and bad moments, I guess, in typical Dykes fashion. And now you've got Sinclair Armstrong coming off the bench, and there's a bit of noise around him, maybe starting. The fans want him to start, and Beale said he's getting closer. Is this something that QPR have really got to sort out their striking options. There seems to be a bit of uncertainty around it still, if they're going to have a successful season this year. And what would you want to see happen?
Regarding the chance last night, I mean, he had a couple. In the first couple of minutes, he had a chance to shoot, and he took his time, and he got blocked. The chance there, you know, he thought he was offside. I mean, me personally, you just lay it to Stefan Johansson, he has a tap in, and then you look around and you're offside. Do you know what I mean? Or you bury it, and he didn't do either. It was just poor. And then there was another chance when Laird cut one back for him, and it wasn't. I don't know if he puts his foot through it, his laces, and goes really low and hard. I think he scores. It was all just. It looked like he's lacking confidence, which is strange because it's just the start of the season. So, but Lyndon Dykes has sort of been like this. It's like when he first came, he couldn't really score. Then he went on a run and he scored. Then last season he'd done all right at the start, and then he got injured and then didn't do anything. And then he scored 2 against Reading, I think. I was there, and he looked good. And you think he's going to kick on. He didn't. He scores a good goal against Middlesbrough header. You think, come on now, you're off the mark. You can kick on. I don't know. Regarding the striker situation, I've been saying since January we need some strikers in. So.
You've been saying since we started doing this, then yeah.
Yeah, but no.
Sign a striker.
So I looked at the bench last night. So we just on the team sheet, and I'm looking, thinking, you know, that bench didn't look too strong to me. And I know we've got injuries, but that's the thing. We have got injuries, and I want to come on to that in a second. And I looked at the bench, and I'm thinking, I haven't really seen Sinclair Armstrong, but when he did come on, I have to say, he made a good impact. One, he's got some strength and pace. And he's a massive handful for the defenders because all he wants to do is running behind. And one thing defenders don't like doing is running that way towards their goal. And when you've got someone as strong and fast as that who keeps doing it, now, just before we come online, Ian said, I'm not too sure he can do that for 90 minutes. And I'm like thinking, that's a good point, because to play with that high intensity and to run in behind like that all game.
That's what Beale said as well, to be fair. He said that as well. And I think it's obvious, isn't it?
Like the fittest man in the world. Well, do you know what I mean? To do that for 90 minutes would be one hell of a shift. But he looks strong. He's a handful. He's very direct. Technically, he needs to improve. But at the moment, it's the great impact sub. And not only is he a great impact sub, he gets the crowd going and gets everyone alive. So I was impressed with him when he came on last night because of the sheer power and pace. Regarding strikers, I mean, Macauley Bonne looks like he's already out of favour. He wasn't even on the bench last night.
And Beale said, well, I'll just put the clip in now, actually. You can hear what he had to say on Macauley Bonne.
Macauley was just not selected tonight.
Just on Macauley, is there any sort of other reason why he wasn't selected, or you just didn't feel like he was?
I think the impact of Sinclair. Means when you're looking at your bench, you're allowed obviously 7. One's a goalie, maybe 2 to cover defensive positions, 2 for midfield, and 2 up the park. And I chose today to go with young Sinclair over him. Macaulay's had a really good pre-season. We have a really good relationship. Everything's clear and out in the open with Macauley and where he stands in the squad. And I just feel at the moment that Sinclair earned the right. And certainly with his impact at the weekend, I thought it was the right decision, and I thought we saw that in Sinclair's performance.
Is the club content with the striking options, or might you be in the market for one other forward player?
I think there's 2 things to consider here. There's the club where it's at with the PNS, and there's what you would like in your squad. That's 2 completely different things. And I think what we're doing is we're showing a huge amount of investment and faith and development in young Sinclair. If I go and bring another striker in that's experienced, what happens to his moments? What happens to his minutes? And I think I've got to be mindful of that. Also, I have to be mindful, and the owners are, and Les and everyone, about where we are financially at the moment. Would I like to strengthen the squad in some areas? Of course I would, but I think 23 managers in the Championship will tell you the same.
Just on Macauley again, if the right offer comes along, do you expect that he could move on this window, or would you like to keep him around?
I think if the right offer comes along for any of our players in this window, they could move. I think that's the situation we're in as a club. So Macaulay's, it comes down to whether Macaulay's going to be happy. There's one or two other players. When you look at the front end of the pitch, if you say there's Chris, Taylor, Tyler, Ilias, Sinclair, Lyndon, Macauley, Meaday, Albert, they ain't all going to be happy, are they? Because in a few weeks everyone's going to be fit, hopefully, and there's going to be a lot of competition for places. So I think in the next 2 weeks there might be one or two players knocking on the door. It's important that if we're loaning a player out that we cover their wages, because it doesn't help me to send a player out on loan for less than what he's earning here, because then I can't use that. So it has to be right for QPR as well.
He looks like he's sort of already out of favour, but like I said, like Ian said before, it's early days. He could be back in favour. You get a few injuries, and Macauley Bonne comes in, scores a goal, and he's flavour of the month. Football changes like that all the time. QPR win against Rotherham a convincing win against Rotherham on Saturday. Everyone forgets about last night, but Willock's back. Will he play Willock, and maybe might play Tyler Roberts up front on Saturday?
Yeah, is that a thing? Do you think we're talking about? Should it be Armstrong? Should it be Dykes? But then you got Roberts as well, and is that maybe something they should do?
And I wouldn't be surprised that he played. What did Roberts play last night? 70 minutes.
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
So he'll have a rest. He's got 70 minutes in the tank, in the bank, and I would say I wouldn't be surprised if Roberts. Yeah, if Willock plays, it'd be Willock and Chair and Roberts up front. That's what I would say.
Yeah,
their Armstrong, to come on. If Roberts or Willock, they might be clever with, not clever, but they might be sensible with Willock and say, depending on what the score is, right, you're playing 6 minutes, because we keep getting too many hamstring injuries. I mean, it's Clark sort of, what's his injury?
Hamstring, I think, isn't it? Yeah.
Hamstring. Willook hamstring. Am I right? A little bit of hamstring.
He had the hamstring injury. It's more of a fatigue recovery issue from.
Okay. Amos hamstring.
Don't know. They haven't said. It's not the.
I heard it's hamstring.
Is it? But Bill was at points to make out it wasn't the same injury he had in pre-season.
Okay, so it's like, and what's the Richards? What's his injury?
He is. I'm not sure.
I'll have a look.
We've picked up a hell of a lot of muscle, and not just since Mick Beale, but even like last season, a lot of hamstring injuries and muscle injuries, which, if you speak to medical people, they're not like they are avoidable.
Taylor Richards is a thigh. He's a thigh injury he's got.
They're muscle injuries.
Yeah,
it's a weird one. At the moment, we're having very bad luck with muscle injuries.
But it is interesting because they have revamped the whole medical side of things down there, and I think that was as a legacy of what happened at the back end of last year. I mean, I suppose do you want the injuries now, or do you want them in March? So it's kind of that. We don't want them at all, ideally, but you are going to get them. I thought it was interesting because, I mean, there was an argument that another reason why Warburton struggled last year was it was perhaps paying too much attention to the sports scientist and taking players off early or leaving players out here and there. And
then it happened anyway, as bad as it did. It's like
Beale picked Amos and Willock, and the pair of them haven't played for that Middlesbrough game, and they're both outstanding in it. And they both haven't played since. And he sort of said afterwards that, there was some worried people behind him, and the medics weren't that enamoured with him playing him for 70 minutes, but they got the win. And then it's one of them, innit? Had they not won that game against Middlesbrough, you're sitting here going, well, potentially they could have 3 losses from the first 3 games. So it was important to get that first game. So it was almost worth taking the risk, I think.
That's what he said as well, didn't he?
And I'm inclined to agree with him.
Well, yeah, you're a new manager. You never manage a first team game, senior game. You want to get your first win as quickly as possible, because if you go 4 games without a win, everyone's giving it.
I think if they didn't win that, we're looking at it a very different way. I think the Middlesbrough game and how well they played is kind of the main positive sign.
So, criticism I've seen pointed at him from, Twitter, etc. He's a little bit kind of, well, he's damned if he does, he's damned if he doesn't, isn't he? Damned if he does, damned if he don't. But it's, I think there's one thing you can't accuse this side of, though. I mean, they do score late goals. They didn't score one last night, but the turnaround at Sunderland, and albeit the dramatic way it finished, but in terms of the way that we've up with Sinclair, right? He's so young and his enthusiasm is fantastic to see. He is just like a big kid. He's out there enjoying himself, and he's gonna, he comes on, he hits the ground running straight away, 100 miles an hour.
He's great to watch, isn't he? He's so good to watch.
Sunderland, he was brilliant when he came on, and then he tried to score a bicycle kick, which was all bicycle and no kick, and then if he squares the ball to Dykes after that, Barnes saw him run down the wing. Dykes has got a tap in. He's thinking, no, I'm going to score here, and he wins the corner that leads to the equaliser from Dieng, and it's just he's making an impact. And when he come on against Charlton, his carrying and his pressure of the centre backs led to that goal that was scored by Roberts. So he's coming on, he's making an impact. And it's a long time since QPR have had someone that just come off the bench and do that. But I mean, I think you have to trust the manager on this. I mean, he's worked with some of the best young players in the country. So he knows what he's doing. You can't start him. You can't start him and expect him to play at that pace and that intensity for 90 minutes. It would be, because then you're getting a problem. He'll injure himself. I mean, he took a bad bang in the first. As soon as he came on, there was a terrible tackle from.
He's already had a lot of injuries for a young
Blackpool defender who's just kind of cleaned him out because he was going to do him for pace. He's going to get plenty of that because he's not going to be a secret for much longer. Everyone's going to know about him, and you just got to be gentle with him and just sort of like. But I mean, as someone said to me the other day, he's not an 80-minute sub anymore. He's a 55-minute sub. Just throw him on and just get his minutes grow. But I think Dykes was poor last night, but he was excellent against Middlesbrough, and I thought he was okay against Sunderland with no service at all. No service. And last night he had lots of service and didn't score, so that's the life of a striker. But I mean, if he's on the bench on Saturday with Armstrong, I don't think that makes your bench immediately better. Because he's done well when he's come on as a sub, Dykes, in the past. When we come on against Coventry last year and scored a really good goal. And and I like Roberts, liked him when he was at Leeds. Really happy when QPR signed him. He's a really good player, and him up front with Willock, I think that could be really, potentially exciting. But they have to get back on the horse very quickly against Rotherham on Saturday.
Yeah, Kev, someone I noticed I kind of want to get your thoughts on as well is like we said, those balls into the box. There seemed to be a lot of balls into dangerous areas, and there was just no one there to get on the end of it. Like with Dykes, is it like a case of being in the wrong position sometimes? Maybe even though obviously should have scored with the ones he missed, but it just seemed like you're just crying out for someone to be there, and it's like that maybe should be the position the striker is in. I don't know. Is that?
Yeah,
that's picked up on.
I thought that last night. I mean, and they were coming sort of from the right side from Laird, wasn't they?
Yeah.
So let's be fair. He turned up Monday, trained for 40 minutes. I'm hearing. So they'll have to get some an understanding. So Laird, if I was in the change room and I'm the centre forward, I would say, and Laird's getting in these positions, I would say, right, you get in that position, and I'm expecting you to cut it back, or just whack it across the near post, or go straight for the far post for a tap in. So you've got to speak to, if being selfish centre forward, you've got to befriend. If I'm Lyndon Dykes or any centre forward, I'm befriending Laird and saying to him, right, when you go down there, you cut it back to me and I'll be there. And I'll score, you get the assist, and we both look good. And it's, do you know what I mean? You've got to speak to him, because if he'll make you look good, and if I score, I'll make him look good. But he's only been there a day. So he was putting it in certain areas, and they were making runs in other areas.
Yeah, there's a bit of disjointed, weren't there? It wasn't quite all matched together yet.
There was one in the first half where everyone went to the near, and he cut it back, and it sort of went forward to the back. So everyone sort of made the same similar run. No one was there for the cutback.
I mean, I guess the crossing they've received in the first 4 games of forwards has been so bad. I guess it might have been a bit of a surprise to actually get a ball put on a plate to him in the middle of the box. So maybe he was hanging back, waiting, thinking, because
But
when
you
the
need
rebound comes out.
You do need an understanding of.
Yeah.
I played up front with Gareth Ainsworth, and if I went to pass, if I wanted him to pass it to my feet, it wouldn't happen. So whenever he got the ball, I just got in the box because I know he'd head down and whip it, and you make your run off that. And then I would usually go near post, and Paul Furlong would be going sort of to the back, and then you'd have the left winger coming in, and then maybe a midfielder for a cutback. It's an
routine, I suppose, isn't it? It's like once you get into it,
it's an understanding thing, yeah. And he's only been there 40 minutes, so they should really have a little chat with each other. And let's say, when I get down that situation, I'm either going to go straight across the near post or I'm cutting it back. You know,
because the signs are positive there. That should hopefully lead to quite a few goals for QPR this season. Like Laird bombing forward, especially if he's going to play in a back three as a wing back, and he can get forward even more. Like, he looks really dangerous going forward. I see there's been a bit of criticism for him, but I actually thought, like you say, he's only been there a day. I actually thought he did all right, to be honest, yesterday.
I thought first half he played really well.
Yeah.
Half he just ran out a little bit of steam. That's all. And
well, he's only been there a day, like you said, I suppose, isn't he? So,
I mean, I'm speaking as a limited Saturday afternoon player back in the day, but
don't do yourself a disservice.
I always thought, like, with strikers, it was always attack that front post, attack the post.
Yeah.
I don't see Dykes doing that. He's just kind of running on that sort of towards that back stick. Then the keepers, you're on the keeper, and also the defender's got to go with you.
Yeah, but that's why I'm saying that if I was playing, I would say to Laird, when you get down that thing, I'm gonna be at the near post, put it in there, and I'll score. So you got to chat to it. You got to chat to your teammates and get an understanding.
Yeah,
and
I think
put it in there, I'll be screaming at him. Why didn't you put it in there?
Yeah, I'm with you, Kev. I think like Tyler Roberts up front next game is the kind of way to go with it. Now he's got his fitness back. I'd like to see that with Willock, Chair, and Roberts. I think that's a really exciting front three with the ability Roberts has got on the ball and the pace he's got in behind. Ian, is that something you'd want to see? Do you think? What would be your kind of preference going forward now?
Yeah, and again, you give Willock maybe 60, 70 minutes, start him, and then you've got options off the bench to come in and sort of.
Well, we played Rotherham last season. We know what sort of similar. They're going to be similar style. Yeah. They're very direct. They're a big centre halves who are good in the air, who want to head it and kick it really. So maybe going with a more mobile, technical front two or three is the way to play the game on Saturday.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That would be my decision if I was the QPR manager. But like, Ian, where
we picked the team again, Dan?
Oh no, yeah. Well, we got the formation change right, didn't we? So you never know. If Robert starts on Saturday, we'll take all the credit. It's nothing to do with the fact he actually wants to play him. It's because he's listened to the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, the encouraging thing is there are a few options there where you can go, well, Willock's back, you can do this and do that, and that's why I'm not too worried at the moment because, I mean, like the Sunderland game, if that team that started at Sunderland that's your full strength side, then you sit there and go, this could be problematic. But the fact that there's these players coming back in, I think there are reasons to be encouraged.
So we know that they would quite like to sign another striker, but obviously the big thing, as always, that we talk about and it's been spoken about a lot is weighing up what you want against this financial fair play and profit rules that you've got to comply with. So that will ultimately come down to that, what they can do. But do you feel like, Kev, that a new striker is needed, or do you feel? I mean, we haven't really seen Roberts up front, so it's quite hard to answer yet. But do you feel like there's got to be that kind of talisman to come in, or do you think Lyndon Dykes should be the first choice still, or should Roberts, if he does well, maybe keep the shirt? I mean, like I said, they do want to sign someone, but do you feel like they are lacking that main talisman still?
It looks like, just reading between the lines, I could be completely wrong. But it looks to me that Macauley Bonne is not.
Yeah. So what we know is they're open to offers for him. If the right offer comes in, then they're
need to hope for the club. If that's what they want to do, they probably want to sell him and bring someone else in. That's what I would say. That's the thing that they would be thinking. That
seems to be the most sensible option, doesn't it, at this point?
Regarding who's going to be the main striker, well, Lyndon Dykes has started the first 4 games. I think Roberts will start on Saturday, and if he scores and he plays well and QPR win, what happens? You stay in the team. You always, as good as if you're playing well, you're winning, you're scoring, you stay in the team. and you're contributing to the team performance, you'll stay in the team. Simple as that. I don't think anyone is really, other than Senny, who's Senny and Willock, really. All the other places are up for grabs, and Dickey, they're up for grabs, I'd say.
Yeah, it's just I mean, if they didn't have as many injuries, there'd be loads of competition for places. Like what Ian said, is the encouraging thing that hopefully it will get a lot better. But yeah, like I think, like you let Bonne go, I think that makes the most sense at the moment. Then you bring another striker in, hopefully someone. I don't think you can get someone that similar to Armstrong. He's a bit of a unicorn, I guess. Like he's just completely unique and with his skill set, it's going to be very hard to find someone like that. But you bring someone in with a bit of pace who can stretch defences. Then you've got Roberts, Dykes, whoever comes in. You've got Armstrong. You've got kind of Willock who can play it. I think those are good striking options. But I do feel like they still need to bring that one other person in, maybe whether that's a loan move or not, just to give the attack a little bit of something different. Ian, what would your preference be now in the attacking positions? Would you agree with that? Maybe let Bonne go and bring someone in. How are you kind of feeling about that?
I don't think who they're going to bring in. Who are you going to get? Beale doesn't want to sign players on loan. He wants to sign players like deals are in place for Richards and Roberts to be permanent signings.
Yeah,
he didn't really want to bring Ethan Laird in. He likes him as a player, but because Man United aren't going to let him go, he wants players that get on loan with a view to signing. So his thing is, I don't want to be developing players for other teams, which I think is quite admirable.
Which I get, but you've also got to be competitive, haven't you? And you want to do well. So
you kind of it's 4 games in, and I mean, getting rid of Bonne makes no sense really, unless someone's going to pay you money for him. But who in the Championship is going to pay for Bonne?
Yeah, well, this is the issue, isn't it? It's like there's not a lot of money going around, so who's going to...
And also, they don't want... And Beale's been quite vocal about it as well. I don't want to let players out on loan and we're still paying their wages. Why should we be paying for someone to go and play with someone else? So, he wasn't in the squad last night, but he's still part of the first team squad. He's still a striker. You get rid of him and, someone gets injured. I mean, I can see Sinclair picking up injuries, little pulls, little kind of knocks, just the way he plays on that. You need options. Unless someone's coming in that is better than Bonne, who are you going to get? I don't think there's many strikers. Every single manager in every 91, 92 league clubs, what do you want? I'd like another striker. Everyone wants a striker. But
does Bonne want to be at the club? I mean,
but he wants to go back to Ipswich at some point.
He's made that quite clear that he wants to be.
He said that he wants to go back at some point, whether that be now or in the future. So
so how's his contract?
Another year in it, I think.
2 years.
Oh, the option of extend this by a further 12 months, and that was in 2020. So he's got a year with an option, right?
Yeah.
But who's the option?
Yeah. So
who's got the option?
I think that I'll imagine the club. Yeah. I don't think the player options aren't really a thing nowadays, are they? But
so who are you going to bring in? And it's so we'll see. But I mean, there's some. Let's get Cameron Archer. Well, Cameron Archer's just signed a 5-year contract at Villa and now playing in their.
Doesn't seem that he's going to be heading out on loan, does it? From what Gerrard said, so
who you going to get? And then there's also if they loan out like Keenan Davis, they want £1 million to loan him out. So you're paying £1 million to develop someone else's players. The players you got, you kind of things will change in January. That's the thing. At the minute, it's a long transfer window from when the season starts, which is ludicrous. You're paying sort of 7 or 8 games before the window closes, so there's this uncertainty about who's coming, who's going, what your squad's going to be. So. I don't disagree. They probably need to get another striker, but my question is who are you going to get under the parameters of what they can pay and what they want?
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be difficult, isn't it? I don't know who would take. I mean, a League One club, I'm sure there'd be quite a few interested in Macauley Bonne, but they ain't really got the money to buy him on a permanent, and then it's a loan deal, and
if you put it on paper, if you've got as a championship team, you look across the championship, Willock. I mean, Dykes didn't play well last night, but he's a championship level striker. Willock's Dykes, Tyler Roberts, Sinclair Armstrong, even Macauley Bonne scored goals at this level. Taylor Richards coming in. There's some good attacking players there. Luke, do you know what I mean? It's they're not in a terrible state. I don't think it's not ideal. No. Ideally, you want to go out and players come back, whoever. But as a championship squad, the options are there. It's just making those options work.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll move on to our predictions then. Like I said, Rotherham at home on Saturday. They've made a good start to life back in the Championship. They've only played 3 games because they were supposed to play Coventry away, but obviously their thing that's going on with their pitch meant they couldn't play, so they've only actually played 3 games. But Richards, Amos, and Clark Salter look like they're still going to be out, but hopefully Chris Willett's coming back. He was expected to come back against Blackpool yesterday, but medical staff, or Beale said the medical staff didn't want him to risk him, so hopefully he's coming back as well. But Kev, what are you expecting from this one? What would you like to see Beale do here?
We talked about the striker situation. I would like to see Roberts and Willock behind him. I will go. I fancy QPR. This is a match we should be winning. 2-1 QPR.
Yeah, Ian, what are you saying? What are your thoughts on what you think Beale should do, and how do you see this one going?
I think it'd be a tricky game. In the cup game last year, they were kind of tough nut to crack. They got a bit of pace up. I mean, they got Connor Washington up front, who scored a really good goal. Actually,
Man himself.
Poor old Joe Lumley, who played like Jesus Christ, holding his hands in that game. Bless him. And
it's not looking too great, is it, for old Joe?
Chidibe
Ogbene,
who
he looks a very good player. Yeah,
he's done really well for Ireland. He's lively and will have pace. So there's going to be a chance. I mean, you're playing Rotherham at home, really. Saturday crowd should be a decent turnout there. Chris Willett's back. Yeah, I'm going to go for a 2-0 win.
Well, I'm going to make it a hat trick, so you know what that means. Have they ever won a game when we've all predicted that they're going to win? Probably not, but yeah, I think so. I think QPR got enough to beat Rotherham. Hopefully, with Chris Willett coming back, that's going to make a massive difference. Different team with him in, like I said earlier. So, what did you say, Ian? 2-0? Because that's what I might go for as well. All right, well, I'm just going to copy you and go 2-0 then. Normally, I copy Kev, but I'll copy you today because, But yeah, well, let us know what your prediction is and your thoughts on what we've spoken about today. If you're watching on YouTube, leave us a comment and like the video as well. And if you're listening to us, do remember to follow the feed for our podcast wherever you're listening, and we'll be back with another one very soon. Thanks for listening or watching.